Welcome to ClickSeminars.LIVE. Keep learning, keep earning in 2020 and beyond. And now let's get ready for our next speaker session starting now. Welcome everybody to ClickSeminars.LIVE. I'm your MC and host, Mike Stewart, the Internet Audio and Video Guy. And we're on our second presentation today for, this is June 11th, I believe. Yeah, let me look at my calendar just to double check. Losing track of time these days. It's afternoon here in Nashville, but we don't know what time it is because you could be watching this all over the world. This is a worldwide live stream, what I'm calling a live-inar, but it's a seminar live streaming. And let me tell you who our expert presenter is today. It's Scott Letourneau. And let me tell you about Scott. What you're about to discover from Scott may be the most important thing you learn for your e-commerce business in this day and age. Not only will you be guided through the steps required to launch your business on different U.S. platforms by someone who many professionals consider the number one business information and business formation sales tax expert in the U.S., but the training will also show you the top threats to your business, what actions you must take, and steps to protect your U.S. profits. Now, pay close attention to every word that he will share with you about your e-commerce platform compliance requirements and what you must do to protect your profits and the mistakes to avoid. And so it's with great pleasure I introduce to you the U.S. business formation and sales tax expert, Scott Letourneau, who has helped over 6,500 entrepreneurs worldwide over the last 23 years launch their U.S. businesses with confidence. He's been recognized by and partnered with many top organizations such as Shopify, that's a big one, Sears, TaxJar, Catching Clouds, Rapid Crush, Amazing.com, and many more. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to welcome to the virtual stage the CEO of NCP and Sales Tax System, Scott Letourneau. Scott, are you here?
Hey, Mike, I'm here. How are you doing today?
I am doing great, man. We have had a wonderful week of experts, and this is a very important subject. You know, just because you get online and start making money, there's a lot of things. There's a lot of little minefields that you could step on, and they could blow up all over for you when it comes to compliance and taxes and things like that, disclaimers. So you've got a whole lot of information you want to share right now. I'm going to excuse myself. If you need me, you just reach out. I'm right here running the director's chair. But what's more important, I want you to get this presentation going right now. Thank you, Scott. The floor is yours. Let me bring your slides up right now. Everybody's seeing your slides. And Scott, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Mike. There's a famous quote that says, "It's not how much you make, but how much you keep," by Robert Kiyosaki, the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Unfortunately, many of you watching today do not have the full story when it comes to protecting your profits. In fact, many of you may be led down the wrong path by the people you trust the most to support you in your financial life. And unfortunately, it's not necessarily their fault. It's a lack of information, the proper strategy, and the right sequence of events. If you lose 10% of your profits, not 10% of your sales, but 10% of profits in just one state, on average, you'll have to do 16 more sales online with a 40% margin to recoup those profitabilities. So I'm going to share with you today that many of you who are selling online are losing up to 10% in multiple states, and you're not even aware of it. I'm going to share with you how to plug those holes. What's worse, if you are an e-commerce seller, there's changes happening today that may cause your business to get shut down or your merchant account to be closed. You might experience your own COVID-19 lockdown. This is unnecessary, and I don't want that to happen to you. So this is going to be a very detailed, filled, step-by-step action plan for your business. I hope you all have a pen and paper handy. If you don't, grab one in a moment, because by the end of the presentation today, you'll have a checklist of things that you'll either need to take care of immediately or in the near future to make sure your holes are plugged so we can protect your profitability as you sell online. Now, before I get started, I would like to know a little bit about who's with me and who's joining me. So what I'd like to do is find out from you if you're a new seller. Let's say you've been selling online less than 6 months. please type in 1 to the chat box. So type in 1 to the chat box if you consider yourself a new seller on the internet online. Perhaps you've invested in some of the training this week and you're excited to get started. Well, the good news for those of you who are brand new sellers is I'm going to share with you today the mistakes to avoid that others who have been selling for several years have already made. You're going to have the opportunity from the beginning, just like when I work with Shopify, brand new sellers, how to do things right and have the right foundation for your business. So thank you for that. Okay, for who on the call or the training would consider themselves maybe not a new seller, let's say you've been selling for 6+ months, please type 2 in the chat box if you've been selling for 6 months or more. You've had some experience, you've been up and running. I'm sure there's some very experienced sellers on this call that have done a lot of revenue. So we see some 2s coming in, that those who have been experienced sellers. Very good. Okay, so I also want to find out what type of product or service are you selling. So type in the chat box if you sell a physical product, type in a 3 to the chat box. I want to see who our physical product sellers are. So type a 3 if you're selling a physical product. Okay, we see some 3s. Very good. Type in a 4 if you sell a digital product online. Maybe it's a course, maybe you have a download. So if you sell a digital product, type a 4 in the chat box now, please. Very good. We see some 4s. So for the digital sellers, there's some law changes the last couple of years you probably don't know about that's going to greatly impact your profitability. I'm going to share that with you today. Now, how many of you are selling someone else's product? Perhaps you're a drop shipper and you don't want to take in the inventory requirements, so you drop ship. If you're a drop shipper, please type in 5 to the chat box so I know who you are. So we see a couple 5s. These are our drop shippers. Very good. I'm going to share with you what you don't know about drop shipping, and due to recent audits, you may find out things are changing for your drop shipping business. I also want to tell you who are all our sellers who are based in the United States. I need to know that. That's really important as we go through our training. So type in 6 if you're based in the United States in a chat box. So put a 6 if you're based in the United States selling. Very good. We see a few 6s. That's very helpful. I'm going to share with you some strategies of what you need to know when you're selling in the United States that's different. Now, my guess is a large part of our audience is international around the world. Type in a 7 if you are outside the United States. So type in a 7 in the chat box if you're outside the United States. Thank you. Very good. We see some 6s and some more 7s. So we have very much an international audience today. We're going to help you move forward. So let me share with you the strategies to help protect your profits with your online e-commerce business. Now, before I do that, I want to share with you a strategy, what the best do. When it comes to a learning environment, it's very important for you to understand. So who wants to know the best learning strategy in the world? It's something you probably haven't heard at all this week, but when you adopt this new strategy, everything you do, when you use your time for new training, learning, it'll magnify it by the power of 10. Type a yes in the chat box. Let me see you're excited that you want to know what the best do. This is critical for my training because we're going to get into some detail for you today to help protect your business. Good. We see some yeses. That's outstanding. So let me share with you the best learning strategy. First, let's share with you what most people do, why they don't implement, why they don't get results. Because most people, when they hear some type of teaching, their first response is they will say, I've already heard that before. I already know that. So if I talk about LLCs today, you might say, oh, Scott, I already have an LLC, so I don't need to pay attention. That's not what the best people do. So let's adopt a very different strategy. But before we do that, we have to understand, why does this prevent you from making profits when you have this belief system? We all do it at times. But the problem is most people are sorting for what's called sameness will lead to financial ruin. What this means is when you hear something being taught, you want to feel good about yourself, that you're smart and knowledgeable. We all do this at times. But the key is to acknowledge the fact you understand that the speaker is talking about something, it's taxes, it's LLCs, but what's going to be different? What can I hear differently? I teach a lot of CPAs. I work with tax attorneys. We're very specific about language. You're going to hear some differences. So what the best believe, and what I would like you to do today, is to adopt a slightly different belief if you haven't done this before. So when I'm sharing strategies and you're taking notes, I want you to get really excited. It's important to get really excited about one new distinction could change your entire financial future. I'm going to give you dozens today, dozens. You could be doing $1 million a month, like one of our clients I spoke to last week, doing $1 million a month, over 10 million on Amazon. And we were going through dozens of distinctions in a 45-minute strategy call. So I'm going to share these with you today, but I want you to get excited to what is going to be slightly different, and you'll have an action set. You can apply this strategy to any course you're going to invest in the future. I guarantee you'll get more results moving forward. So with that being said, let's go over today's agenda, what I'm going to cover with you. First, we're going to talk about U.S. marketplace requirements. What's most important about this, especially during COVID-19 and all the changes, are the recent updates and changes coming. Because if you're not in tune to the changes that are coming very soon, you might find yourself in a position where your account is maybe shut down, inactive, and that is an extraordinary loss to your profitability. I'm going to simplify U.S. sales tax for you in two particular areas, U.S. federal taxes and sales tax. Now, some of you may be thinking, Scott, I thought there was a lot of changes the last couple of years in sales tax. I don't have to worry about it. Well, the first part is true. There has been several changes. The second part is not. I wouldn't say you don't have to worry about it. There's a couple states very specifically I'm going to point out today. One has a third-degree felony, so you have to be aware of it, and you want to be in compliance with that state specifically. So I'll give that to you. Now, I'm going to share with you what your tax professionals doesn't know. I know this because I work with them every week. It's not that they're not smart people. They're not caring people. They're not knowledgeable. There's very specific. So I'm going to prove to you today what's happening and what you need to do to make some adjustments and why they're not on board. Doesn't mean you have to fire them or get rid of them, but you're going to need some additional support. Then we're going to tie it up with protecting your profits. I'm going to give you my long-term formula for success when it comes to protecting your profits and a couple key distinctions you want to implement in your business. Now, before we do all this in the training, let me share with you my experience and my background so you know how I got here. I currently live in Las Vegas, Nevada since 1993. I'm actually broadcasting live from a little city in Wisconsin called Solon Springs, Wisconsin. I'm at my lake home that's going under some remodeling this past spring. And so this is my remote office for the next 7 weeks. I have an office in Las Vegas and a team that works remotely internationally. When I moved to Las Vegas in 1993, I worked for an incorporating company for 4 years that set up U.S. corporations. My background prior to that is I had a business finance degree from a university. I had a Series 7 license in the stock brokerage industry, and compliance was very important. I don't know if you've ever done this before, but I found out the company I was working for was actually very aggressive, and they didn't follow the rules. And as soon as I figured that out, I felt very uncomfortable. So long story short, I left and formed my own company, which I'll share about in a minute when that started. But that's what happened when I came to Las Vegas. That's what brought me there in business. Then I made a transition to my company, which I'll share in a moment. Now, on a personal side, this is myself, my beautiful wife, Deanne. She's a classical violinist. This is backstage at Caesar's Palace in the security entrance as we're going to see the Celine Dion's last show, which was June of 2019. My wife's played with her for 8 years, and we went to the final show, the after party, and in Las Vegas, my wife is the concert master of the Philharmonic. We know lots of very well-to-do people in town. And it's kind of funny because when you're kind of married to a semi-celebrity, most people don't care what you do. So I like to say I carry the violin, and sometimes I like to say I'm the trophy husband. But by the picture, it looks like the trophy husband probably needs to lose a couple of pounds. But that's my beautiful wife here in Las Vegas. And we have 3 beautiful girls that are teenagers. So I'm a little bit outnumbered. but I'm grateful for all the blessings. So let's get to my company. I founded in 1997. So what I did the first couple of years, I wanted to do some research on how things really worked when it came to the incorporating industry. I hired Deloitte & Touche, a huge tax firm on the multi-state taxation rules. At the time, I invested $600 an hour way back when to understand what my industry was doing. And probably 60 or 70% of the strategies recommended were very aggressive. And I was known for putting out a lot of content to dispel some of these misconceptions. I was asked to enter the sales tax arena in 2015 for Amazon sellers by a very good friend. And I did what I did with Deloitte & Touche. I went and hired the top experts in sales tax and modeled what they did training with them, paid them their fee per hour to help sellers understand and simplify sales tax. As Mike mentioned, I have over 6,500 clients worldwide. I get messages all the time from all around the world to my team. I do strategy sessions that are paid every week, and we incorporate in all 50 states here in the U.S. and work with clients, as I mentioned, all over. I pride myself by working with the best of the best. I'll share some of those relationships in a moment, whether it comes to taxes, legal, funding, immigration, asset protection, credit, estate planning. My specific background, as I mentioned, is business finance, but I like to say I have a PhD in results. It's all about getting results for you and your business. I like to take very complex information and simplify it. It's like a big puzzle. It's like connecting the dots, multiple pieces. Most people, entrepreneurs, I find they think about 2 steps ahead of them. I like to go 6 steps ahead and reverse engineer the process. That's what I'm going to share with you today to simplify everything for you. So I'm known as the leading business formation and e-commerce sales expert in the world when it comes to doing business in the United States, and to be able to put these 2 things together for you. As Mike mentioned, one of my partners is Shopify. We work with a lot of new sellers. So if you're a brand new seller looking to launch your business, a lot of people want to know, what does the road ahead look like over the next 3 to 6 months? What do you have to do to be in compliance? You probably don't like to get blindsided, right? I'm similar. I'm at my lake home here. We had it remodeled last year, and there were some things, if I would have known today, if I would have known 9 months ago, I would have done differently. Maybe you felt the same in your business in the past. So part of the reason I'm here today is to help you avoid some of these pitfalls. We're also a partner with Sears. Sears isn't one of the largest platforms, but it is. So the 2 highlighted areas are services we provide with the U.S. address and EIN number for Sears sellers. I'm also a very proud partner with Avast. They're a UK-based company. They help global sellers expand to the EU and also to the United States. I'm their partner when it comes to the U.S. tax side, and they're very well connected with Amazon. In fact, about a month ago, I'm the person who does the training for Amazon Seller Central reps in Europe when it comes to global expansion. So I get emails every day through Avast for Amazon sellers, and I help them have the right information when it comes to sellers expanding. So it's a privilege, obviously, to be working with companies of this nature and this magnitude. So I'm proud to be with you today, and I'm going to simplify this and help you out also. So some of the groups I've trained is Amazing.com and some of their sellers, also with Rapid Crush, with Jason Flady and Will Matos, and help their sellers become successful in this area. And recently, this is a booth at the White Label Expo. So White Label is a huge subject worldwide. This was in Las Vegas before everything shut down at the end of February. I'm on stage with our partners at Avast and Payoneer, sharing with sellers what they need to do for global expansion. Some of the people I've had a chance to work with around the world is Nick Halick is originally from Australia, and he's in California. He's known as the Trillionaires. He's an adventure seeker, serial entrepreneur, speaks around the world. If you know Jay Abraham, he's one of the top marketing guys in the world. Spike Humor, it was the former CEO, and he's somebody we consult with often. Said some nice things about working with my company. Sandy Botkin's one of the top tax attorneys when it comes to maximizing business expenses. I've worked with him for over 20 years. And Todd Falcone is one of the top trainers in the direct sales industry. So we worked with many different niches, different groups from around the world, and have produced tremendous results. So let's take a look at the marketplace opportunity and what you need to do to protect yourself. So when we look at U.S. marketplaces, we want to look at updates and changes. As you probably already know, the opportunity is massive in the U.S. And this year alone, there's expected to be $524 billion in sales in the U.S. in 2020. And that's with COVID-19. We'll go through those numbers. So $524 billion. Who would just like to have a sliver of those sales? Type yes in the chat box so I still, with us. Maybe $500 million would be good for you. Yes, so very good. So tremendous opportunities, right? And we've seen some increases due to COVID-19 recently. E-commerce sales were about 40% higher in the week of May 26th to June 1st. So that was very recent. So compared to the pre-pandemic benchmark, which was February 24th to March. So before things shut down and right after things started to open up, we've seen a big spike in sales. Now, this is based upon research of 10,000 online retailers. The best performing products, now this isn't a surprise, are medical, cleaning, work from home, and health and wellness. So these are products that skyrocketed. If you were fortunate enough to be in some of these niches during the time, that's outstanding for you. Here's the source of our data there. Now, let's take a look at some of the top marketplaces in the U.S. So if you're looking at where to sell your online products, where are the biggest marketplaces based upon monthly visitors? No surprise, guess who's going to be number one? I'm sure you all know, of course, that's going to be Amazon. Imagine having 2.51 billion monthly visitors to your website in the U.S. alone. That's why Amazon's so popular. And you can see eBay, Walmart, and some of the other top marketplaces in the U.S. and the amount of visitors. Wayfair has 77 million visitors per month. So these are per month traffic going to these sites. This is why e-commerce is huge. Now, what's important is with e-commerce is obviously there's opportunity, and some of you are probably already selling. The key thing is to look at the requirements to sell on different platforms. What I'm about to show you next, one of my clients last week got a price quote from a tax attorney that was going to charge $5,000 to do what I'm going to show you on the next slide. I'm going to show it to you for free. And he was going to do research of the requirements on different platforms. So I'm going to give it to you for free for attending so you understand how this works. And there's a couple of very important distinctions. So we're going to look at Amazon, Walmart, and eBay. Now, a test question for you. I know we got some sharp folks out there. Is Shopify considered a marketplace or not? So if you think Shopify is considered a marketplace, type in 1. If you think it's not, type in 2. Let's see. We got some 1s and some 2s. So it's kind of a trick question because Shopify, for the most part, is not considered a marketplace because it's where you have your own store. But Shopify does have Fulfilled by Shopify that started last June. It's certainly not as popular as Amazon. But so for the most part, if you sell on Shopify, it's like selling on your own website. And it's going to be very important to keep that in mind when we talk about sales tax in a couple minutes. So as you can see, we look at these different criteria, the legal business name. You can see they all require, of course, your legal business name. That's common sense. They all require an email address. And it's important to type in your correct email address. You'd be surprised how many accounts don't get open because they typed in the wrong email address. Now, the important question are the next three. Do you need a U.S. address to sell on these platforms? Well, if we look at Amazon, the answer is no. They don't require a U.S. address. But remember when I talked about 6 moves ahead or 3 moves ahead? We're going to add the conversation next about sales tax. When we add that component, you're going to find, and I'm going to prove to you later, why it's to your interest to have a U.S. address, but not just any U.S. address. I'm going to share with you the best type of U.S. address to have and what services they need in order to protect your profits. So that's very, very important. Now, you can see Walmart does require a U.S. address to sell on their platform. Now, do you need a US EIN number? Well, again, if we look at Amazon, for example, it's not required. But you're going to, again, find out when it comes to sales tax registrations, it is required, and we need to know the difference. Now, do you need a U.S. bank account? Well, if you sell on Amazon, they'll send you your money to you at about 4%. A lot of you may work with a company called Payoneer that'll cut that in half. So a U.S. bank account from the standpoint of a traditional bank account is not required. You will find out when we come to Shopify, it's a good idea to have a U.S. bank account, and I'll share with you why in a moment. Now, Amazon and these platforms make a fortune because they have their own merchant account, and everybody qualifies. Shopify is different. We'll point that out in a moment. Tax exemption certificate. That comes into play. We'll talk about that in a few minutes also. That's a very important tool that you need if you want to save profitability. So we're going to cover these a little more specifically. So let's take a look at a Shopify store. Again, type in one in the chat box if you have a Shopify store so I can see our Shopify sellers, please. So you see a few Shopify sellers. Very good. So if you're outside of the United States selling on Shopify, which many of you are, the question is, do you qualify for Shopify payments? Well, the answer is yes. But you got to have a social security number. Now, it's not quite obvious about that because some people will set up a US LLC, a bank account, and they'll get everything set up and they find out they can't use Shopify payments unless, again, as I mentioned, you have a social security number. So what are foreign sellers to do when you sell on Shopify? Well, if you don't have a social security number, which probably 98% don't, unless they were originally from the U.S., perhaps, then what are your options? Well, you can use Shopify payments from your own country. Now, the rates are going to be different, but then you might say, Scott, well, I still want to sell on Shopify and have a U.S. company, but I'm going to use Stripe. Well, you can do that, and you can set everything up, but the key point is you got to find out from Stripe or PayPal or things of that nature to accept money, if what's required above and beyond. For example, do you require a utility bill? A utility bill is very difficult to obtain. These platforms no longer will accept just an online telephone bill. They want a real utility bill linked to your address. Very important to do this properly. Let's take a look at another platform. Let's look at Walmart. Walmart is a huge opportunity to sell products. And you'll see their requirements here. They require a U.S. tax ID number. You'll fill out a tax form. Most common is a W-9 or a W-8. If you're a foreign entity, you're going to fill out a W-8 BNE, which is a very complicated form to fill out. And they want a U.S. business address. This is to sell on Walmart. So these things are important, and I'm going to share with you how to get them set up properly. Now, let's say you want to go to Sears. Sears has this $2,500 marketplace guarantee for customers. They have 16 million visitors per month. I mean, it's not too shabby. Who would like to have 16 million visitors per month to your website, right? That wouldn't be too bad. And it's easier to become a seller on Sears. eBay products will show up on Sears. And their requirements, though, is a U.S. address, an EIN number, and a U.S. bank account to sell on their platform. So that's what Sears requires. You're starting to see some patterns here, and we're going to share with you how to do this properly in a few minutes. With Sears, you also need a U.S. credit card with your U.S. address, and this is why some people have challenges, which we're going to look at. That is very, very important. So let's talk about some marketplace issues. These are the things, if you don't do properly, you could have problems with your e-commerce account. So a lot of people starting out, they have activation issues because there's errors with these things matching up. Most common is when you sign up, for example, on Amazon or Walmart, does the address that you signed up on the business account match the address on your bank statement? Some people have 2 or 3 different addresses that don't match up and you won't be activated. Your credit card must be a valid number. I mean, that sounds obvious, right? A lot of places now, they will call your phone number during registration. So they want to speak to you. Now, this is one that most don't anticipate is language differences depending on the parts of the world. For example, if your address and your utility bill is written in Russian with different letters than our alphabet, than what you entered in your Amazon account, well, guess what? Your account's not going to be activated. So that's something that could come up. Now, you certainly want to avoid suspension. You want to avoid violating any types of terms of service when you're selling on e-commerce. That's really, really critical. And a lot of people do it unknowingly. A lot of people on Amazon, this happens to, and they say, I don't know what I did wrong. And it's what you really need to do. I'll give you an inside secret with Amazon. What you really need to do is to find something you could have done wrong, apologize for it, let them know you're fixing something. Fix something, because they're not going to tell you. And when you let them know you're fixing something and what you do, and you won't do it again, you grovel a little bit, you're going to have a better chance of getting your account reactivated. Or you can also go, which I'd recommend at a time, there's attorneys that are very good at this that charge appropriate fees to help you out. So making changes to your account is also something significant. Remember, we talked about being several steps ahead. See, when you start your business, if we can get you several steps ahead, you can avoid some of these change issues. And these come up with banking, EIN, business structure. Many times your account won't be suspended, but it won't be updated until everything's activated correctly. Very important. So let's talk for a minute about what's coming soon and what you need to anticipate in your e-commerce business. Specifically, we're going to talk about Amazon and what's reported, I should say, to be coming soon. So Amazon has a little bit of issue with ill-intended sellers. I don't want to generalize any specific population or group of people, because one of my pet peeves is people, they generalize and say these people do this or all these people are like that. So I'm not going to say a group of sellers, because some of the sellers are very legitimate, but some countries have different sellers that have a tendency to bend the rules. You probably know which country might be the lead on that, but I'm not going to mention it. So here's some possible, and I emphasize the word possible, new requirements. A recent article in Forbes magazine talked about this. Proof of physical address. So how would they do that? Well, the plan could be to send out a code in the mail that you have to verify within 30 days. This is important because what address you choose, you have to make sure you get your mail. You might say, Scott, that's pretty simple. Well, if you're outside the U.S., you have to understand that sometimes the mail doesn't get to you properly, especially to a foreign address with a correct postage. You don't see this, you don't get activated. Validate your business phone number. This will come in the future, perhaps through an automated call is the recommendation. So you can verify it on the spot. Another requirement that's being talked about is a DUNS number. This is a DUNS through Dun & Bradstreet. We worked with them for 10 years because I specialize also with business credit and financing. So we know building business credit very well. So if you have a U.S. company, they may want to see if you're registered with Dun & Bradstreet. This is all about adding more credibility. Amazon wants to know, as do the other platforms, can they verify their sellers? Can they do more to make sure they're legitimate, right? Other key areas, product liability insurance. You may or may not know this, but once you get to $1 million in sales, now if you're brand new, $1 million of sales may sound like a lot, and it is a lot, but we have hundreds of clients that do $1 million in sale annually on these different platforms. And so what most people may not be aware of, they've heard about it, but product liability insurance actually is required on Amazon when you get above $1 million in sales. Currently, and I emphasize currently, they do not police it, but it is required. But in the future, it may be required. Does that make sense? So very important. So that's going to add some cost. And I will tell you, if you have a foreign entity and you sell, it's a little more difficult to get U.S. product liability insurance. I'm going to share with you later a group of resources we have and how we solve these things for you. So let's take a look at some trends coming for marketplace sellers and things you need to keep in mind. So you are several moves ahead. So as you launch your online business or you continue to grow it, because believe me, once you're doing $1 million a year in Amazon and it's all in Amazon or Walmart, you don't want your business to be shut down. That's really expensive. So you want to do these things properly. So more compliance is coming soon, more verification. Therefore, you want to set things up correctly from the start, or you want to be able to fix things now before it's too late, or you're shut down for even a short period of time. Because we want you to be active for long-term success. This is part of protecting your profitability in your online business. Now let's transition to an area that I can almost guarantee every one of you have holes in your bucket, meaning you're losing profitability every single day as you sell online. And this has to do with U.S. taxes. We're going to share with you things that your tax professional doesn't know. Now, your tax professional probably doesn't look like this guy. And if you ask a question to your tax professional and you get that kind of response, that's could be good or bad. I mean, honestly, from my point of view, I like to work with people that can admit to me, Scott, I don't know that answer. I can't make that recommendation. That part you need to speak to someone else. That's not my area of expertise. I would much rather work with someone that can say that or refer me to somebody than to guess. Guessing gets expensive. So, unfortunately, if you don't do things right, some of you, your business is like a train on these type of tracks. You're about to go over a cliff and you want to do things properly. You want to avoid tax evasion. That's very serious. So these things must be done properly. And the problem is in this area, some of you are saying, Scott, I've heard this stuff before. I'm not worried about it. Amazon, for example, has been collecting tax for over 1.5 years now. No big deal. I'm fine. I'm here to tell you that's not the way it works. There's a lag time when it comes especially to state and federal notices. For example, I had a client a couple weeks ago that reached out to me and got a notice from the state of California for the years of 2016 and 17. 16 and 17, that's over 3 years ago. They gave them a notice for the California franchise tax fees for 2 years. 3 years ago. That's how far California is behind in certain notices, and the IRS is no different. So just because nothing's happened yet doesn't mean it's not coming. So we want to show you how to protect yourself moving forward. Before we do that, I want you to understand something very important. I want to understand why you're getting different advice and what you need to do moving forward. So here are some of the top reasons you're getting different advice, or I should say bad advice. Part of it is based upon the sources of advice you're getting. Now, a lot of you, like me, we read blog posts. Blog posts are a good start to get an overview. It's a good start to give yourself a basic foundation of maybe some questions, some terms before you do a paid consultation or you go to a professional. That's a good place to start. But if that's the only place you're going, that's a bad idea. Now, what's worse than probably a blog post, unfortunately, is Facebook comments. We see all the time sellers. What did you do in Virginia? What did you do in Florida? What did you do in California? Well, how do you know they did anything properly? Oh, how did you get registered in California? I just did this and they said it was okay. Well, how do you know that was the right answer? You don't know until you find out 18 months later with some different notice you should have never received. So you got to be careful. Now, some of you may just have a bookkeeper in your life to do your basic books, and you might be doing your own taxes. Now, I'm not going to ask you to type in if you do your own taxes or not, or you don't use an accountant. So I'm not going to put you on the spot here, and we probably don't want to make it public either. So some of you may use your accountant, but did you know when you work with accountants, some accountants do different type of work. Some do personal returns only. In the U.S., that means a 1040 or a Schedule C for a sole proprietorship. Some accountants also do partnership returns. Some accountants do corporate returns. I have an accountant in Las Vegas that specializes in C corporation taxes. So I know if I have a client who's interested in C Corps, he's the right fit for that. But I don't refer others to him that don't need that type of support. Now, when you get to foreign clients outside the United States, that's a whole different ballgame. It's not easy to find someone in the U.S. that works with that. Now, you might have a CPA. Some of you, maybe a couple of you, have gone to a tax attorney. Most of you probably have never gone to a tax attorney for specific strategies. Now, this brings us to the next point. When you need specific answers, where do you go? Do you go to a generalist or a specialist? So if you needed brain surgery, heaven forbid, or maybe you knew someone or you've read of someone that needed brain surgery, do you think they would go to a general practitioner or a specialist? What do you think they're going to do? Of course, it's obvious they're going to go to a specialist, right? Specialist is very important. So when it comes to sales tax, do you think we go to a CPA or a specialist? Well, you can go to a CPA that's going to be aware of sales tax. They're going to have some knowledge of it. They probably have local brick and mortar businesses, and they probably even file sales tax returns in the state you're located. But that's very different than the specialist, which is called a SALT expert, sales and local tax. It's called SALT, not table salt, but this kind of SALT expert. So it's special training. So when it comes to U.S. taxes, you probably want to do what we did. We went to multiple U.S. tax attorneys to see what the differences are. So this is the approach that we took in our business, is going to these multiple experts. I interviewed back in 2015. I went right to 2 or 3 different SALT experts. I paid them their hourly rate. We did training, webinars, hours and hours of questions and research to find out how does it really work. What I did first, which probably you would do, I went to my local accountant. I said, tell me about taxes on Amazon. This is 2015. He said, Amazon takes care of it for you. I said, thank you. And I thought to myself, I got the wrong person. So this is what you have to be aware of in this particular area. So we're going to transition specifically to these 2 areas for you. So I hope everybody's hanging in there. We're going to get to some specifics here. So you want to take some notes in these areas. So we're going to talk about impact on your profitability doing business in the U.S. We have to talk about federal income taxes, specifically for foreign sellers. If you're in the U.S., it's pretty straightforward. You might determine whether you want an LLC tax as an S Corp or disregarded. How does it flow through? We're going to talk about sales tax for a moment or two. Let's first talk about U.S. federal taxes. So here are the 4 points you need to keep in mind if you're outside the United States. So again, if you're outside the United States, let's make sure you're still with me. Type 1 in the chat box so I know who's with me. So you're outside the United States. This is the list you need to look at. Okay, great. We got a few people outside the United States. So you want to know if you're actually engaged in a U.S. trade or business and what that definition is. You want to know if there's a tax treaty with your country, and you want to be able to file the proper U.S. return if required. Commonly, there's one called a protective return. And this all starts with applying for what's called an EIN number, also called a tax ID number. You get this through the IRS. So, very important point on the end. It starts with a tax ID number, and this triggers the rest of these. I'm going to show you in a few minutes the important parts of applying for a tax ID number. So let's look at sales tax specifically. I'm going to simplify sales tax in 6 points for you. Step number 1, you got to figure out, is the product you're selling subject to sales tax? So if your product is subject to sales tax, then step 2, there's this term called nexus. Do you have nexus in these different states? I'll define that in a moment. Then you got to figure out, when did you first have this nexus? For example, if you had physical inventory in a state. Then the next step is, does the marketplace collect on my behalf? So if you're selling on Amazon or Walmart, do they collect on your behalf? They might in many states. If you sell on Shopify in your own store, the odds are there is no marketplace to collect on your behalf. So that's really critical. When to register for sales tax. So you have to get registered, and when to do it, timing. Registering for sales tax, we've done thousands of them, permits and licenses. They are very inefficient at the state level. Even if you can register online, there's 27 states that mail you a code or a PIN in the mail 6 to 8 weeks later, and you need this code or PIN to unlock your account to get access to your number to move forward. It's not as simple as it should be. So the last step is you will then maybe collect sales tax in states. You then remit, which means give it back to the state, and you got to file some sales tax returns. So these are the 6 steps you got to go through for sales tax to be in compliance. Feel free to take a picture of this slide if you want. This is very important to your business. Now let's go a little bit deeper and look at each of these subjects in a little more detail. First, let's look at U.S. sellers, non-U.S. sellers outside the United States. You have to determine, is your business subject to federal income taxes? And there's a couple of terms, something called effectively connected income, or ECI for short, or did you create what's called a permanent establishment, or a PE? Do you have what's called independent or dependent agents? Now, I will tell you, most professionals confuse effectively connected income and permanent establishment. And when we worked with tax attorneys, the key part is, are your activities considerable and continuous? These are factors that come into play. And if you're shipping inventory outside of the United States or inside, that comes into play. So these are the factors you have to evaluate when you set up a U.S. business or when you sell from outside the U.S. to determine if you need to file a tax return. Now, there are consequences of filing the wrong tax return or not filing one at all. So let's take a look at those for a moment. Here are some of the late penalties. If you're in a country with a treaty and you forget to file the disclosure 8833, it's a $1,000 fine per year failing to file. Now, if you set up a U.S. LLC and you were supposed to file Form 5472, this one's painful because it changed. It used to be $10,000. Now it's $25,000 per year after 2017. For most of you, that would probably put a major damper in your profits if you had to pay that fine. Some of you have to file a 1040-NR for non-residents. There's a 5% fee per month. If you were supposed to file a protective return and you fail to attach the treaty form to it, this results in an annual penalty of $10,000 per year. If you're in the U.S. and you file a 1120S for an S corporation, I've had several clients through the years that would file a return, or I should say file an entity. They got an EIN number. We send out emails when to file tax returns. And they didn't start their business, so they ignored it. They said an S corp's a pass-through. I don't need to do anything. What they found out later is the IRS now charges $195 per month per partner for up to 12 months in penalties for a return that no tax would be due. So you might wonder, Scott, why is this so complex? Well, there's multiple variables involved. You have different business setup. You got a U.S. person, foreign person. So these are different factors. There's different entities. Do you have a partner or no partner? Is the partner in a different jurisdiction? Is there a tax treaty? Or are you in a country like Hong Kong where there's no tax treaty? Do you sell Amazon FBA where you have physical inventory that's shipped around in multiple states? Maybe it's fulfilled by merchant. Do you use Shopify that is not a merchant, is not a marketplace, and you have more responsibility? So all these things come into play. So there's multiple variables that are involved. That's why these mistakes happen. Now let's share with you a couple simple things that are important if you're going to get a tax ID number, which is required for some platforms, but required for sales tax. So if you're outside the United States, you can do this by calling the IRS. Now the EIN number is also your tax ID number. So the IRS has been shut down for 2 months due to COVID-19. You couldn't fax or call them. So there's a backlog right now. So if you're outside the United States, you need an EIN number. You're going to be in a long hold if you can get through. Now, if you're in the U.S. with a social, you can go online. That's fairly easy. You want to fill out the SS4 correctly. The two important line items are 9A and 10. 9A and 10. There's some factors to get these two lines correct. That's your structure, who the signers are, is an 8832 required. So you want to do these two lines properly. These are the two lines in red. These are the ones that when you get a simple tax ID number, you want to do properly. A lot of people don't do it properly. You can't just call the IRS after and say, oops, I made a mistake. Can we fix it? They don't do that. You can't fix it. You got to get into either having your CPA do something in writing or file for an election, or you got to file a return, make an adjustment. It is a pain to make a change. So you want to get this done properly in your business. Now, what we've done internally, we have a chart that we map out 6 different situations, all the different factors. It's blocked out because this is our information internally. This is what we use that we've interviewed tax attorneys for to make sure we get the right sequence when we apply for a tax ID number. We've seen a lot of UK sellers, when they got their SS4 back from the IRS and the EIN, it says they need to file a US 1065 partnership return. Well, that's the wrong answer, so they gave the wrong information. So basically at this point, it's a little reality check that if you're having just one person, you can have a main person doing your accounting, doing your taxes, but you need a team to help you make sure you're doing things properly. Wouldn't you agree? Wouldn't that make sense for your business? So let's cover a few sales tax basics. What is sales tax? Well, it's tax added to the price of goods. It's at the state, not the federal level. That's what makes our country different. It's a percentage of the purchase price, and it's collected by you, the seller. You're basically an unpaid collection agent for the state, and you got to give back the sales tax if you collected to the state. And there's software I'll share with you in a few minutes that does this for you, that makes it simple. Now, what most people confuse is they say, hey, Scott, I heard there's a tax treaty with the U.S. and the U.K., so I'm good, right? Well, that's at the federal level, not at the state level. So that's what makes it different. Now, let's say you're in the EU, and you might say, in the EU, it's different because VAT tax is at the country level or government level, and it's included in the sales price. The U.S. sales tax is at the state level. In fact, there are 45 states in D.C. with sales tax in the U.S. So it's almost like selling in 45 different countries. That's why this is involved. Now, there are 5 states without sales tax, which is good, but you have 45 that come into play. Now, remember, we talked about at the beginning, do you sell a product subject to sales tax? Well, if you have a physical product, odds are, yes, it's going to be subject to sales tax. There's always exceptions. Some of those are some supplements, depending upon ingredients. Clothing, groceries, and medical devices are many times exempt from sales tax. In New York, I'll give you a crazy example. Iced coffee is exempt from sales tax, but Red Bull is taxable. So we get to the big one. What about digital products? Now, if you sell a digital product, type a 1 in the chat box so I can see who my digital sellers are. Type a 1. Very good. So we got our digital sellers. So digital products, we have to look at a couple factors. Is there a download versus a digital product online? Now, here's what the states look at. Pay attention very closely. Is it considered what's called tangible personal property? If it is, it's taxable. Here's some examples. In California, digital products are tax exempt. That's good news. But if you have a physical copy that you send out, that is taxable. In Florida, digital products are tax exempt. That's good news. But in Tennessee, digital products are taxable. In Texas, digital products are taxable. So it's very important. It's not the same in all these states. So what you need to figure out is, do you have what's called sales tax nexus? This means a connection to the state. There's a couple different types. One is called a physical nexus. This means company formation. So if you formed a Wyoming LLC, that means you have physical nexus in Wyoming. You probably don't have offices or many employees, but you may have stock or inventory, at least in one location, if not many in the U.S. Then we have to look at what's called economic nexus. This came into play. This was a big changer in June of 2018 when there was a new U.S. Supreme Court case, Wayfair versus South Dakota. Basically, what this said is the state said, forget just only physical nexus. There's so many e-commerce sellers making a fortune online. We think we should do what the other countries in the world do, which they have a threshold. And we want to charge people sales tax if they do enough sales in our state. Whether or not they have a physical presence, we could care less. We need revenue. So the states, on average, a common place they started was $100,000 in sales. So that means in that state, once you cross that threshold or 200 transactions, you now have nexus and have a responsibility to collect and remit sales tax. I agree with you if you were thinking 200 transactions is crazy, because that is a low figure. Now, the good news is Marketplace Nexus came about 6 months after this June 2018 case. And what that means is now the marketplaces are starting to collect on your behalf. Amazon and Walmart in many of the states, but not all of them. Shopify is again, it's not a marketplace, it's a store. So what some people do, they're selling on Amazon, it's successful multi-million-dollar business, and they open a Shopify store. Well, that triggers potentially having to collect or remit sales tax in many states that Amazon's already collecting for you. That's a key distinction. So the cost of non-compliance is important. In Florida, for example, let's look at the penalties. You willfully fail to collect, willfully fail, you have to pay 100% of the tax you owed. That's obvious. So, for example, let's say you did $3,500 in sales in Florida, and this average tax rate was 8.5%. You would owe $300 in Florida. It'd sound like not a big deal, right? But in Florida, that's a third-degree felony. $300 or more, but less than $20,000, and it's punishable up to 5 years in prison and a fine up to $5,000. Now, I agree with you. This is crazy. This is why when you go to Florida and you search sales tax, you'll see a lot of attorneys willing to represent you, to defend you. So Florida is the state that takes it seriously. Most states aren't this aggressive, I will tell you. They'll have penalties that will come into play, but they're not this aggressive. But I'll show you some of those in a moment. So I want you to know, if you're behind on sales tax, it's very common for new sellers. So you're in the same boat, a lot of people. The question is, how do you get on track? You have to determine which states you had this type of nexus. And the best way to do it is conduct what's called a nexus analysis, where someone will go through and figure this out for you. They have to determine, based upon your sales, when did you pass these thresholds? They have to break it down per state, per month, and give you results about which states to register, which states not to register. And if you are registered already, which some past sales Amazon sellers are, can you close out that state? So the average sales tax nexus study costs about $1,000 to get this done. Now, you might be asking, Scott, well, like in Florida, hey, if I owe a couple $100, can I just send them a check? Well, let's say you owe $100. You can't just send them a check. You think it would be easy. Well, you first got to get registered. Then you got to file past returns, pay the sales tax, pay the penalties, pay the interest. Then you're not finished. Let's say Florida is not a state where the marketplace is collecting, but let's say it was a state. You got to file final tax returns. So there's a lot involved just to pay. We want to make sure that we're plugged in. So I'm going to take a moment here to make sure I got the right plug in here, because I thought I had the computer all set here. So give me a moment. We're going to look at drop shipping next here. I'm going to talk about drop shipping globally, but let me make sure I have the proper plug in here. I moved my computer before we got started. So just give me a moment here and find the right cord. And I think we will be okay here. And let me look this way for 1 second. We'll take a moment here. And we are missing a cord. So we're going to continue on, and hopefully we will be in good shape here. So drop shipping, 23% of all online sales globally are through dropshipping, over 85 billion. Dropshippers challenges, it's a very popular. There's low startup costs, but it involves 2 transactions with dropshippers. There's one between the seller and the supplier. I should say there's one between the seller and the customer in dropshipping. Then you have the sale between the seller and the supplier. So there's 2 transactions with dropshipping. Do dropshippers pay sales tax is the big question. Well, it depends who has Nexus, economic or physical. Here's what dropshipping diagram looks like. You can take a picture of this slide for yourself. And we want to look at dropshipping to make sure it's done properly. Now I'm going to make sure I'm plugged in as you look at that slide. Okay, I found the magic cord here, so we should be okay. Okay, so thank you for bearing with me. We're plugged in. We're good to go. So every day that goes by in your business, what you're going to find out is, we're going to get the slide going here. Whoops. Every day that goes by, I'm going to go back one. I hit a couple buttons and it caught up with me. So every day that goes by in your business, you are literally flushing money down the toilet. Whoops. Let me roll back here. Oh, I'm going the wrong way. Okay. So we want to avoid flushing money down the toilet. So what happens is sales tax, penalties, and interest. So this is what happens when it adds up. Let me go back to that slide. My screen seems to be jumping ahead without me. Okay. Sales tax, penalties, and interest. Here's what's happening. You can see the penalties and interest add up in each state for you. Oh. Let's see. Okay. So I think I have a timer that's pushing me ahead here. So here's the penalties that add up in these particular states. You can see with 50% penalties, this adds up a lot. So the question is, will you get caught when it comes to sales tax compliance? So the question is, will your competitors turn you in? You probably did not know the states have an affiliate program, or at least one of them does. And New York has a program where it's called an affiliate program for tax evaders. They call it a whistleblower program. So here's what happens in New York. They will pay you for turning someone in who owes sales tax. Here's one person that they paid $300,000 to a whistleblower just for sales tax. Here's a famous case where My Pillow, a very famous infomercial, they paid a whistleblower $221,000 because My Pillow owed $1.1 million in unpaid sales tax in the state of New York. So you have to be very careful in these areas. Now, because of COVID-19, we're entering a perfect storm in this particular area. At the end of the day, the states need more revenue. In fact, the states estimate in 2021, so next year, they estimate states' revenue are going to be short $290 billion. That's the total shortfall by state budgets next year. That is a problem for online sellers. In fact, in California, this was an article just recently, a few days ago. They're going to be short $2.3 billion due to COVID-19. So this is a problem. So you want to move forward to protect yourself because the states are going to go after their money, especially California. I work with them very closely. So we want to be able to protect your profits as you move forward. And there's several steps involved. Here's my formula, what you want to do to protect your profits. It's CS plus YS plus CF plus C plus E plus PS equals protecting your profits. This stands for the correct strategy linked to your situation. You want to have a complete formation. You want to be in compliance, and you want to have the right execution, and you need professional support. So you need all these things in play to make sure you're protected. Now, a lot of you, unfortunately, your foundation of your business is built upon straw and the big bad wolf. whether it's the IRS or an attorney or a state agency situation, is going to blow your business apart. So you want to make sure that your business is set up properly and structured. You want to be on a solid foundation. Unfortunately, many of you will go the simple route. You'll form a $99 LLC online. When I interviewed attorney Lee Phillips on the subject, he said, Scott, when we go into court, and he's a U.S. Supreme Court counselor, Lee said, we blow through these online LLCs in 15 minutes. They don't stand up. They're just a piece of paper. They don't have the correct operating agreement. They weren't structured properly. And we go after the assets individual of the owner. So you want to be set up properly in your business. So when you set up your business, you want to have the proper business structure. So whether you're a foreign or U.S. structure, you want to look at it, protect your business asset. So as a U.S. seller, you don't want to operate for a sole proprietorship after the testing phase. Everybody's going to start out individually many times. Some will form an LLC from the beginning. Yes, your CPA or accountant will say, keep it simple. You don't make enough profits. But when you sell online, e-commerce with profits, you want to be protected. So here are the real disadvantages of a sole proprietorship. The marketing message is not powerful because we know what your CPA said. You don't make enough profits yet. Your audit risk, it will increase by 300% when you sell individually. You don't want to have the mindset, I'm not sure if I'm going to make it. So you want to avoid that and do it properly. Foreign sellers, on the other hand, are going to look at your U.S. entity options versus a home country, right? Those are the two options you want to look at. Many sellers come to us and they want to separate their liability from their home country from the U.S. So they already have an existing entity in their home country doing very successful, and they want a separate one in the U.S. Some want to develop a separate brand to sell in the U.S. That's a different approach, and a U.S. entity is helpful, even though you're selling the assets from the business. Now, it's easier to get liability insurance, as I mentioned earlier, with a U.S. entity, and Amazon is requiring that at $1 million in sales. It's easier to set up a U.S. bank account. In fact, it's the only way to set up a U.S. bank account when you have a U.S. entity that does what's called an ACH pull. This is important when it comes to automating tax software in the U.S. So when it comes to U.S. business services, here's the things you need to keep in mind. You're going to need an EIN number, a virtual address, sales tax, resale, or exemption certificate. That's to make sure when you have product shipped in that they don't charge you sales tax because they're for resale to your customers. You need to have support with sales tax returns, sales tax registrations also, federal tax returns. So these are the type of things you need support with, and you want to do it right from the start. Fixing tax issues are expensive. You want to avoid taking these simple steps on your own. Calling the IRS for an EIN number can lead to a disaster, like has happened in many situations. This case costs our client over $600 to have our CPA fix that for him. Filing your own LLC with the state is certainly a challenge also. There's more than just one form. So just having one form, not having an operating agreement, not having it set up properly, has zero protection for your business. Now, the good news is there's part of me that there's glad there's these low-cost solution providers because at least will get you started. Good enough is good for some of you. But for those of you who want to be serious, you want to grow a long-term business, we got to do it properly.
I'm sorry, everyone. It appears that Scott's internet connection has failed us. We apologize for that. Hopefully he will be coming back in soon. I know it's been a very informative presentation here, but hopefully Scott will get back in here in a second. I'm monitoring the situation, so please stand by. And that's the problem with internet connections and computers, that you can have something fail. He is, we're waiting for him to come back in, so please wait just a second. We apologize. We'll keep standing by here and hopefully get this back. Please stand by.
Hey, Mike.
Hey, Scott. People are still, I don't know what happened.
We had a power surge here. It's been a lovely day with internet. That's part of business, right? You got to adapt, make adjustments. These things happen. So I'm back with everybody. Couple technical things here out in the wilderness in Wisconsin. So we thought we'd already all set. So I'll pick it back up and we'll finish up and help everybody out here. Okay.
All right. Well, I told everybody that something technically must have happened, and that that's the danger of that is one danger of the internet. It runs on electricity.
Yeah. Hey, it's these things happen in life and business, and I think it's like when you get sued for the first time in your business. Some people get absolutely derailed if things fall apart. Hey, those things happen. So it's not that events will happen to you in life. It's how you respond to them and how you move forward. And if you're an entrepreneur, as you know, Mike, things happen all the time, and we can't prevent things from happening. As well as prepared we are, you just move forward. So with that being said, let's move forward, Mike.
Can you get your slides back? If you can get your slides back, we'll pick up where you left off.
Yeah,
and we'll sort out the replay because you couldn't help the power going off. But
yeah.
Any rate, and I would. I hate that it happened. I did the best I could to tell people that I was praying you'd get back.
Oh yeah. So you didn't know. So do you see my slide, Mike, or
not yet? No, you need to. You need to reconnect them.
Okay, so let's do that. So I shared my screen here.
Okay, and so you the lights dimmed and the power and everything just shut down, huh?
Yeah, I saw that it started flashing, and I go, that's not a good sign. And all the new electrical work, we'll have to have a discussion with the electrician. How's that?
All right. If you recall where you picked up, If this was a television taping, we would say, okay, take two.
Yes,
All right,
we
your
would do that.
slides went away. I don't know what you did.
Okay,
Bring them back.
I hit a button, so we'll get that back here. And
All right. All right.
now I think we're good.
Okay, if you know where you are, pick up where you left off, and our apologies, but whoever your electrical folks up, let's have a good talking to them later, Scott.
Yes, I'll share some nice thoughts from. How's that?
All right, then. Bye-bye.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Okay, so let me ask you a question so far in the business. So let's get the slides here working. We're going to move to the next one here. I have the first one up, but we have to get it moving forward. Okay, we're getting closer. Trying to hit the right button, Mike, to get my slides to move forward, and we'll see. Remove from live stream. Let me minimize this. Let's try. Okay, so we are going to, let me exit out. And we'll switch screens so you see the right one. Then now we're ready to go. Okay, so back to my questions. Are you more aware of the U.S. marketplace requirements and selling in the U.S.? Type yes in the chat box if you are more aware than you were before we started. Did you focus on distinctions and strategies? Do you have a list of things? Thank you for those typing yes in the chat box. Were you a little uncomfortable with what you learned today? I'm sure some of you perhaps were a little uncomfortable for what you learned. Do you see how some of your professionals may have missed some of these steps? Type yes in the chat box if you see some steps that could have been potentially missed. Do you feel your time was well spent today? Even the downtime. Got a chance to get caught up with me? Was your time well spent? Give me a yes in the chat box. Would you like to spend even more time together, going even deeper and further so we can help you protect your profits? In this area, you really have a simple decision. You can go alone, work with perhaps your one professional, hoping you get things right, making sure you're protected long-term or not. Or you can make a decision to join me and my team today that we can take years of research and simplify this for you to help you and your business. And that's my invitation for you to move forward. This is my e-commerce compliance system, everything that's included that we're going to do for you today to protect your profits. First, you're going to get access to our sales tax system. This is our flagship product that's fully designed. It's a private online training system to keep you in compliance with sales tax and other sales tax responsibility. It'll guide you step by step what you need to do when it comes to sales tax, designed for both domestic and foreign sellers. Our sales training system will point you to the key sales tax issues you need to be solved that'll save you a ton of money and time and future audits. At the end of the day, you're going to sleep better at night knowing you have resources of the team helping you stay in compliance and your profits are protected. Now, I'm not expecting you to become an expert at sales tax, nor should you want to be one. But there's going to be key things you need to access when it's important. You're going to get full access to our full research when you log in to our membership training area. We have listed step by step every state how to register for a sales tax permit. Not the steps that are on the state's websites, our steps that people have paid us up to $95 a state to register. We give them all to you for free. You'll have our 8-step system. If you don't want to go through and get registered in the states that you need to register on your own, we will gladly do it for you with our 8-step process. We have additional training that's required to make sure you set up your business, you're protected, trademarks, all the above, everything you need to sell online. When it comes to sales tax registration, you can use our $75 per state service. It's a 20% discount for what we charge the public for non-members, which is $95 a state. We have a very detailed 8-step process we take you through. It's a very tedious work that we take you from start to finish to registering, creating your tax accounts. We have summary spreadsheets to make it very simple for you. Jennifer, who's from Canada, said with your help, the power of obtaining sales tax permits for the FBA states was much less daunting than I imagined. Now, you may have a system like Taxify or TaxJar. These are both partners of ours. We will train you in all the steps you need to do before you use software like this. So your sales tax membership comes with 12 months of support. It's your lifeline for your business. It's a $1,597 value. You also have access to send us questions when you can't find something specific, because we know the volume of training. We will support you with that. This is absolutely what you need to be in compliance in this area. Next thing we're going to do for you is your sales tax nexus analysis service. This is what you need to find out the exact states where you need to register for sales tax. You're going to send us your sales data. Our team's going to figure out which states you need to register, including the states you may owe past sales tax on, penalties and interest, states you need to register with no liability, which is good news, and states to deregister if you are an Amazon seller registered. And we're going to also tell you the states you don't have to register at all. This is going to eliminate the guesswork and fear out of what you need to do as far as sales tax registration, having to figure out this complex process. We'll give you instructions on how to pull your seller data if you don't know how to do that, how to find out which states you might have FBA stock. And upon completion, we're going to send you our report. Our report is a detailed outline that tells you exactly which states to register and why, which states not to. This is a template. We fill it in for you. Again, upon completion, you have clarity with your sales tax responsibilities, which states to register, which states not to register. Most importantly, we're going to remove the biggest threat to your profits in the U.S., which is sales tax compliance. You're going to have peace of mind, which is key to your success. So we're going to do your sales tax nexus analysis for you. You're going to learn, where do you have past liability? Where do you do nothing? Where do you register and deregister? This is an $897 value. You can go to our website right now. We have people that pay this price every week, $897 for us to do an analysis for you. Today, what we're going to do is include in our e-commerce compliance system, you're going to get access to our help to protect your profits. Keep in mind two important points. The average sales tax costs $114,147 in the United States. You're going to lose 10% of every sale after you have Nexus where you're not in compliance. So together with sales tax system and our sales tax nexus analysis, we're going to get you into compliance with sales tax to plug those holes in your business to make sure you're successful moving forward and protect your profits. It's a $2,497 value. We're also going to give you some very important bonuses to make sure your U.S. business is structured properly. We're going to give you access to our U.S. virtual address service for 12 months. This is your premium U.S. address service where you have unlimited access for your business and personal names to come to our address, whether you're in the United States or outside the United States. If you already have a U.S. address and you're going to get in compliance with sales tax, you want to have our address. I'll show you in a moment why. We will scan your important documents and mail to you if you choose. Our service will provide you your U.S. e-commerce business with credibility, confidence, legitimacy when it counts the most. Our service is the best when it comes to protecting your business. Our team is highly trained in what we do. Our team is going to be watching your back and your profits moving forward. This is the 6 steps to our U.S. virtual address service that we take every week. This is our offices in Las Vegas, Nevada. We're in this building. It's not a basic P.O. box. There's credibility to this building for your business. When your mail comes to our office and our team sorts it, everybody has an internal spreadsheet where we track everything that's done for your business. We save everything in a drive for you. All the documents are scanned and relabeled and organized. We send you out email notifications, especially if it's urgent documents you need to address right away. Our team will respond with special emails when it comes to packages, banking, debit cards, things of that nature. We also include a U.S. lease agreement, which comes into play to some areas like Stripe accounts. You're going to receive important mail on a timely basis from our company. For example, if you get a notice like this one client did from the state of California, we scan that to you to make sure you get it immediately. Especially important if you're overseas. If you get a California Nexus questionnaire, an IRS letter that says you owe over $6,000, you want to make sure you receive it. Your federal tax ID number is very important. You may get a notice from the bank saying they may close your bank account. You need to receive that immediately. You may get a collection notice from one of the states about sales tax and penalties and interest due. Our system will organize this for you. We have several clients around the world that said great things about our business and our service. This is Dean Mahoney. Dean was actually one of my first clients when I worked with Tom at the World Internet Summit back in 2009. We set up a U.S. company. Chris is also from Australia. These are other clients' experience. They have great things to say about our business and our support with our team working with them here in the U.S. We're going to help you with your U.S. credibility. You're going to get a physical address to a real building and a P.O. box. You can have unlimited business names. So if you have 10 LLCs, all 10 LLCs can use our address. We're going to provide you a lease agreement. We can scan, sort, organize, notify when you have mail, send you alerts. It's a 12-month service. It's a $397 value. In this service, I will say the scanning and forwarding and postaging are separate. So if you have packages, and we'll give you a rate chart as you get started. This is included today also. We're also going to set up a U.S. bank account for you if you have a U.S. entity. I'm a little hesitant with this bonus because we can't control what the banks are going to do, but we do have access for the last 6 months, and it's been successful 100% of the time when it's set up properly, is a full function U.S. bank account with a debit card online, the ability to do international banking, wires, and an ACH pull, which is critical to sales tax compliance. It'll automate your sales tax payments with U.S. remitting software. It's required for U.S. merchant account in many situations. You can conduct your online banking from anywhere in the world, and there's no travel. This is the key part. You do not have to come to the U.S. to set up this particular bank account. There's no travel required. Now, very important. This is not a global payment system like Payoneer, PayPal, or TransferWise or XE. This is not what it is. It works. It's a platform, but we're connected to a real U.S. bank. So that's a huge, huge difference. Another bonus with this bank account, there's no monthly fees. So if you already have a U.S. bank account, you want to set up a second bank account. The worst number in business is 1 when it comes to this. What we're going to do is send you our form. You'll fill it out. You'll submit it to us. The requirements are you'll need a passport. You'll email that to us, a U.S. physical address, which we're providing, a phone number, which you can get through Skype. You'll need your EIN letter from the IRS. If you already have an EIN, but you don't have the letter, we'll show you how to get it from the IRS. There's a $100 deposit. The process is we will complete the form for you to set up the bank account. Our team will submit it for you. We will open the bank account in the platform. You will be received separate instructions to fund the account. Your debit card will be mailed in 10 business days. It'll come to our address. We will ship it to you. This is a $297 value for you. We're also going to support you with the next important step for your U.S. business, which is EIN support. So if you don't already have a U.S. EIN number, we'll support you through the process. Some of you already have an EIN. You may want to see if you've done it correctly. We're going to complete our SS4 intake form. Our team's going to review it. We're going to make sure you fill out line 9A and 10 properly. Once we review it, we're going to make recommendations for any changes to make sure it's done properly. We're going to provide you the steps to call the IRS to get your tax ID number. You might say, Scott, how come you're not going to call the IRS? My only challenge is I like to deliver excellent service. And unfortunately with the IRS, we don't know if it'll take a week, 10 days, or 2 weeks to get through, but we're going to make sure it's filled out properly. Once you get the EIN number from the IRS will send you your letter. We're going to scan it to make sure you get it. That's critical for your business. We're going to help you avoid nightmares with the IRS. It's a $150 value. We've helped many clients around the world accomplish getting an EIN number. Very happy with our service, setting up their entire business. So you're going to get everything we talked about today. Sales tax system for 12 months to simplify what you need to do for sales tax. Our sales tax analysis service to help determine where you have nexus and where you need to register for sales tax. You're going to have access to our U.S. address service for 12 months, our U.S. banking service if you have a U.S. entity. We're going to support you with the EIN service. Very important. Now, for those of you who are in the drop shipping business, you're going to love this bonus. We're going to simplify sales tax for you. I did a video overview of the entire process of drop shipping with important FAQs about who pays sales tax. Is it the seller, the supplier, or the customer? You don't want to be left on the hook for thousands of dollars if you're in the drop shipping business. You're going to save 10% of your profits in your business when you're in compliance. We're going to break down this entire process for you. I have multiple case studies on drop shipping with different states, different situations, and I go through it step by step in video where you as a seller need to know absolutely sure when do you have to collect and remit sales tax to your customer. You may be surprised and you may find out that your suppliers never brought it up, but they may start asking for resale certificates, and we cover that also. This is a $997 value. It's not available anywhere on our website. This is created new for ClickSeminar attendees only. You're going to get our next bonus, which is number 5 for our foreign sellers. I'm going to break down specifically for you to clarify your options when you're doing business in the U.S. We're going to go through the advantages and disadvantages of using a U.S. entity. We're going to go through the details, whether you're engaged in a U.S. business as a trader or not. What are the U.S. tax returns required in your situation? What are the services required? The breakdown of all your costs between a foreign entity and a U.S. entity doing business U.S. I have a detailed video explanation that anticipates your 3 to 4 moves ahead. This is based upon years of research, consultation, investment, and it's going to be summarized in less than 30 minutes. Who would like to have this subject summarized in less than 30 minutes that you can take to your tax professional in your country and save hours and hours of research and do it properly? You're also going to get this bonus. It's a $1,497 value. So if we add everything together, we're at a $5,832 value. We're going to protect you and your U.S. profitability. But that's not it. What we're going to do for you, it's very important that you have the right people on your team. I'm going to share with you my vetted tax Rolodex of the people we work with. It's just not going to be names and numbers. It's going to save you a fortune in bad advice, wasting time searching online. It's my list of exclusive people I work with. It's their personal connection to my professionals. It includes the contact details and guidelines. When do you reach out to this person? Do they have separate fees? What are they? Now, what's different with my Rolodex is not just a list of name and numbers. We're going to do a personal introduction by email by our team. So here's the situation of an email I did a couple weeks ago after a strategy session for a client based in Germany that wanted to go through Hong Kong. This was a very detailed introduction to our CPA that takes time and energy, but it makes a world of difference in the introduction. We have resources available in our Rolodex on tax treaties, sold experts, legal agreements, trademarks, immigration, e-commerce, U.S. tax returns, of course. Again, what's most important is who do you speak through first? In e-commerce, bookkeepers, $125 an hour, and accountants, $175. A CPA's $250 an hour. A tax attorney's $500. Tax attorney treaty specialist is $600 an hour. So you have to know the correct sequence, who to speak with first. We break that down for you in our Rolodex. You'll get our introduction to our trusted partners to protect your business. Of course, the vetted professional fees are separate. That goes without saying. This is an $897 value. It's critical to have the right people on your team to make sure it's done right. What we're going to do for you is when you have access to us, you need support. We understand you need support, especially during the next 12 months of your business. You're going to have access to our special trainings, our updates in e-commerce bookkeeping, behind on sales tax, U.S. entity structuring. We do training throughout the year in these subjects when things change. You're going to get updates in those. Special sales tax updates will email you when it happens. We'll answer your important questions on entity structuring, our training steps, your next steps for the next 12 months. So if you have any questions, all you got to do is email our team for the next 12 months. Our current clients don't have access to this. They send us questions, then they have to do a strategy session. You have access for the next 12 months. We use Zendesk as a support mechanism. We have tickets that come in every 10 or 15 minutes through our office. We have a full-time person that sorts it to our team to help you out. So everybody who gets started now, you're going to get sales tax system. You're going to get the distinction you need to protect your business, the sales tax nexus analysis to know where you need to register. The good news about the Sales Tax Nexus now is you don't have to use it right away. There's no time limit. You could use it 6 months from now as you get up and selling. You're going to get access to our U.S. virtual address service when you're ready for it. It's a 12-month service. You can get access to our U.S. bank account, our EIN support, our dropshipping Compliance Simplified. If you're a foreign seller, you get access to our specialized training, our vetted tax Rolodex, which is a lifeline that's very important to your business. You're going to get access to 12 months support. For most of you, having 12 months support, not having to pay for a strategy session each time you reach out to us, is going to be tremendous in helping your business and protecting your profits. The total value is over $8,726 today. Obviously, we're not going to charge you $8,000 for everything. You can see most of these items are services. People go to our website and call us every day and send us emails, and they pay for the sales tax nexus analysis. They're sales tax system members. They pay for the address service. They pay for these items separately. What I'm going to do today is our special lowest price ever for everything today you see. Everything right now is only $797 today, and one more payment in 30 days of $797 for everything we can do to support you in your business going forward for the next 12 months. This includes updates. All you have to do is go to ClickSeminars.LIVE/Scott/ to get started today. When you get started, what's going to happen is you're going to receive an email from our team within 24 to 48 hours. Certainly check your junk folder. It'll come from support@salestaxsystem.com, support@salestaxsystem.com. And in that email, we're going to outline every bonus for you, and you'll have immediate access to implement the steps to protect your business moving forward. We're excited to work with you, and we know that it's really important that you keep your profits. You don't want to give it to the IRS. You don't want to give it to the state. Many of you are doing that unknowingly. We want to make sure you protect your profits going forward. We want to work with you with our e-commerce compliance system and protect your profits. Again, it's only one payment today of $797. I charge $497 for a 45-minute sales tax strategy consultation. I do those every week. Clients from around the world pay me for that. Sometimes we have to do multiple strategy sessions to get clear. You're making one payment today that's a little bit less than that, getting 12 months of support and everything else listed for one payment. It's a small investment to protect your profits moving forward in your e-commerce business. Or if you want to make one payment of $14.97 today, you'll save a little bit of money for yourself. Just go to ClickSeminars.LIVE/Scott/ and we'll be happy to work with you to get going in your business. And our team is there to support you. We're world-class at what we do. We work with the best of the best for a reason, and you definitely want us on your team. Now, I have a question for you. My belief is some of you are probably going to want some extra support. How many of you would like one-on-one support from myself? Again, as I mentioned, I have clients that email us every week, and they have strategy sessions, or I should say strategy questions about which entity is best for me. When do I pay sales tax? Should I be a U.S. or U.K. entity? My team sends them an email to a website link for a paid strategy session. That's $397 for 45 minutes and an email summary. How many of you would like this for free today to have a one-on-one call with me that we could get on the phone and go through your particular situation one-on-one? That's what I'm willing to do for you today. So I'm going to add an 8th bonus, which is a strategy session with myself. It's a one-on-one call with myself. It's 45 minutes. As you can see, I can cover a lot of content very quickly. I can cover multiple areas to help you out in your business and to clarify your business moving forward, both on the business structure side and the sales tax side. Anybody that reaches out to me separately, you're going to get an email to pay for this service. But when you sign up today and get registered, you're going to get a one-on-one call with myself. Now, what's different that I do that nobody else does, I will send you an email summary. I will send you a checklist, step by step, what you have to do moving forward. Typically, this takes me 15 to 30 minutes, even though I can type very fast. I will summarize step by step what do you need to do first, second, third, fourth, any remaining questions. It could include a couple of referrals to our tax professionals. This is what I do after my call is done. You will get that part within 24 hours after our call. So this is going to be free. It's a $397 value. When you go to the link below at ClickSeminars.LIVE/Scott/ I will do this for you as a special bonus. So everything is included today in our e-commerce compliance system. You can get started today for $797. Or you can call our office later, and each service will be individually priced. We can do a paid strategy session. I can refer you to our experts. It's going to be triple to quadruple the cost. This is the best way to save the most amount of money. Whether you're a brand new seller and just getting started, you might need only a couple of the services to get started. You may use the other services within the next 12 months for your business moving forward. We'll get you access to sales tax system immediately. You'll get access to a username and password to our membership area. I suggest you watch the introductory video that'll give you an overview of everything you need to know. And then you can reach out to our team when you need support. If you've already been selling for a year or two, or maybe more, and you never looked at where you have sales tax nexus analysis, you're going to want to know where you have exposure. You're going to want to know what past liability you have and when did the marketplace, for example, Amazon, take over for you. We've never offered this in any kind of an offer like this before. It's always been paid separately to my office. I'm not one who's typically on the speaker circuit. I do a lot of training, as I showed you. That's typically what we do. And then people reach out to us. They pay for the individual services. But I want to give you the best value possible today to work with our company as a thank you to Tom and Jason and Joe for all the work they've done in helping e-commerce sellers be successful online. So again, go to the link below, ClickSeminars.LIVE/Scott/. My calendar, I will tell you, is fairly full. As you sign up, you'll get the email. We take them in sequence. You'll get the email again within 24 to 48 hours. It's first come, first serve. When you sign up for a strategy session, I'll be more than happy to help you out. So I'm looking forward to working with you guys to help you be successful in your online business, to help avoid these pitfalls that we see every day. This is absolutely a moving target. I have a team in place that's on top of this to help give the updates as necessary for you. Your job is to focus on profitability, protecting your business. You do not want to get blindsided by some of these notices down the road. If you do get notices, you're going to be working with our team so you know who the right people are to protect you. Again, my name is Scott Letourneau. Looking forward to working with you. Mike, I'm going to turn it back to you to finish up. We'll see if we have any questions that came in. Again, it's my pleasure. God bless, and look forward to working with every one of you. Mike?
Hey, Scott, amazing information. And oh my gosh, there's so much to think about, but you know what? It's good to know that there's folks like you out there that can help us navigate these amazing amount of things that you need to pay attention with, especially since this is a worldwide event and we got people that want to do business worldwide, and there's so many different I'm sure legislations and rules and things. And so for someone like you to be an expert and keep on top of it, you are an amazing resource to keep everybody online and profitable. So are you looking at the chat yourself there, my friend?
Yeah, let me take a look at that here. We'll look at some questions here that have come in. So I see a question about the sales tax nexus analysis. It has to do with multiple platforms. So if you are a seller on multiple platforms, we will need your data from all platforms, and we will break it down for you to determine where you need to register. Some people are surprised to find out, even though they're selling on a platform such as Walmart or Amazon, there's some states that require you still to register. For example, Washington is one of them. Illinois is another one. So it's really, really important to do it properly. As Mike said, I might be a little crazy because I work in a subject area. It's very complicated. But I like complexity. I like to simplify it. And at the end of the day, I got to tell you this, Mike, I didn't share it up front, but I've been in business for now going on 23 years. I've been married for 24 years. And it's the first time in each category. And I've beaten the odds. And I've always looked for coaches. I have a relationship coach. I look for somebody to be on my team. And in business, there's no way. I have mentors in different countries around the world that I work for. I pay out fees all the time. I'm the first one to open my checkbook. I know it's figure of speech. Nobody uses a checkbook anymore, but I pay cash when it comes to strategy, advice, information. So when you work with us, it's not only my research I'm paying for, and I've invested over $500,000 of research over the years. It's our clients collectively have invested millions. And the nice thing about when I'm on a strategy call, I get to ask the question, what did your professional say and why? And I find the disconnects and the loopholes. So I'm a tremendous resource to help you guys out. And again, if you're brand new, sometimes the most important name of the game is having confidence. Confidence is the most important psychological trait for success. And I'm going to tell you, I have a couple surprise bonuses. I'm not going to tell you what they are specifically because that kind of ruined the surprise. But one of them I'm going to tell you is a game changer for your life in the area of psychology that I've seen more business failure in the last 23 years than anything else. It's nothing I talked about today. I didn't teach it, but it's a surprise bonus that I guarantee will be a game changer that will help you preventing business failure. It doesn't have to do with tax strategies. It's something else. It's a layer of the onion I discovered about 15 years ago that nobody seems to teach. So you're going to get that bonus and another one that makes sense. So we have a question says, if I get an EIN number, does that mean you have to file tax returns till you die? Well, let's hope you don't die anytime soon, but that's a very good question. So yes, when you get an EIN number, you open up Pandora's box with the IRS. So it depends upon how you fill it out. Is a return required or not? In some situations, a return is not required. If you're a foreign seller, which you might be, in some situations, it's required to do what's called a protective return. A protective return basically means there's a tax treaty with my country, and I want to let the IRS know, don't go after me. So it depends upon your situation, and that's what we review when we set these things up for you. We want to make sure it's done. David says, well done. I appreciate you, David. Thank you for the nice comments. I appreciate that. Just scrolling through, Mike, to see if there's any other questions that we go through. So the U.S. bank account is a real account. I used to be a partner with Citibank for 5 years, and one day Citibank ended. I worked with the international division in New York with Citibank because of my resources and contacts. I worked with one of the top law firms in the world. So these things do change. So if you already have a U.S. bank account, I would recommend you get a second one if you especially obviously are a foreign seller. It's critical to your business. Just go to ClickSeminars.LIVE/Scott/ and you'll get everything we talked about. You're going to love working with our team. I'm looking forward to speaking with you specifically. So somebody asked about, they lost internet connection, so I feel your pain. So they're now on the phone and they're privy to a replay. Yes, we're going to have a replay. Mike's going to have to do and his team a little editing work on mine where it kind of dropped off there for a moment. So it might be a little bit more than usual to get it out, but you'll have a replay. So I feel your pain, Arthur. But the good news is it's not the event. It's how you respond to the event that makes a difference. Right, Mike?
Absolutely. You know, the action you take can make all the difference. Well, Scott, it's been my pleasure to meet you. It's been my pleasure to hear you. I know that there's a lot of people that will see the replay. And in fact, we see when the scroll here, the correct opportunity to get your offer will be below the video. And yes, we will make sure that that little bit of electrical faux will be edited out. So people who are hearing this now are going, what mistake? What mistake? So thank you so much, Scott. We're going to go ahead. We got another session today. So I'm going to say, get back to your lake. Is it a lake house up there in Wisconsin?
Yeah, we're right on the lake here, and 5 neighbors are all relatives. So each night's a bonfire, barbecue, and lots of fun. Mike, feel free to come out.
Well, I would love to be there. I'm on my way right now. I can't wait.
See you soon,
Bye-bye.
Mike. Take care,
Bye-bye.
everybody. Bye now.
Well, everybody, ClickSeminars.live is winding down. We've got 1, 2, 3 more sessions, and then a wind up from our boy, I'm telling you, sometimes my brain dies. The guy who put this whole thing together, Tom Waugh, with Joe and Jason, they're going to be winding up the last session. So we've got 4 more sessions as of this video, and we've got another one in about 2 hours and 10 minutes. It is now 3:49 p.m. in the afternoon here in Nashville. So depending on where you are in the world, I know Joe, it looks like for Joe it's getting close to 10 p.m. over there. So that I can do a little bit of math in my head. But at any rate, to be able to watch all of the replays and to be able to know what's coming next and to see the schedule, if you're watching this, no matter if you're watching it on Facebook, you're watching it on YouTube, but more importantly, are you watching it at ClickSeminars.LIVE, to find out everything you need to know to see all of the previous sessions that we've had all week, or to watch any sessions coming up. Because like I said, as of this video, there's only 4 more sessions to go. And of course, tomorrow afternoon, 2 p.m. On Friday, June 12th, that's going to be Mike Stewart, the Internet Audio Guy. Hey, since I got the microphone, I'm going to tell you about my presentation. I'm really excited about what I'm going to be talking about, which is marketing with audio and video. And basically, you're witnessing something that I'm excited about, live streaming video. So we got a whole lot to talk about tomorrow. We got John Childers in the morning, but coming up next is Patrick Chan, and you don't want to miss Patrick. So with all that being said, we're going to call it a day for right now, and we'll be back shortly, less than a little over 2 hours. So everybody, stand by and come back, share it with your friends. Thanks so much.